Welcome to a special edition of LA County Closeup. Today we take an in-depth look at the crisis of homelessness, who's affected, what's driving this human tragedy, and what we're doing collectively to make a difference. We start with this special report.
I don't like asking for help. I was brought up to be self-sufficient, made six figures. I'm the person who's supposed to help people, you know, and stuff happens.
I always had worked. I always had a job. I always made good money. I lived on ranches and took care of the horses in Montana and Wyoming. I came back to California. I was like, wow, I could believe $1,200 a month. I'm stuck. So you become homeless.
My family found out I was gay, and they weren't okay with it, so they gave me like 15 minutes to like pack my things and go. I was constantly like doing interviews for jobs, and I couldn't find a roommate. Like within a few weeks, $1,000 just goes like that. So yeah, I ran out of money, and the next thing you know, I was on the street.
We've worked to try to educate the general public about the actual face of homelessness. And typically people think in terms of people with serious mental health issues, people with substance use disorders. And it is true that those folks are present among the homeless, but they are not the majority.
The reality is that the primary driver of people becoming homeless is economic reasons. Think about the enormous percentage of low-income county residents who are paying 70, even 80% of their total income for rent. A car breaking down, making it impossible to get to work, is all it takes for that family or individual to be unable to pay the rent.
All it takes really is one bad day. It just takes one bad day, and it can happen to anybody.
Los Angeles County is home to an unprecedented collaborative movement to prevent and combat homelessness. We went to Los Angeles County voters in March of 2017, and the voters approved a sales tax known as Measure H. And we're using that to support the largest, most comprehensive, most sophisticated effort to prevent and combat homelessness in the history of this country.
If we looked across all the people that our system touched last year, it's more than 75,000 people. What LAHSA does is prevention for people who are on the edge, outreach for people who are out on our streets, temporary housing, but the key direction is to get people into permanent housing.
We have more than doubled the number of homeless families and adults moving into permanent housing each year in the last 3 years.
We're housing more people than ever before. We're entering more people into the coordinated entry system. So more people are accessing resources than ever before. But the fact is, we don't have enough housing. We just don't.
This year, countywide, we saw a 12% increase in people experiencing homelessness. While we are housing people faster, people are falling into homelessness faster. Rents here have been moving much faster than incomes. Last year, we had the most cost-burdened metropolitan area of any in the country.
The fundamental root of our homelessness crisis is a housing crisis, a shortage of well over 500,000 affordable housing units in Los Angeles County.
Every day I'm having to tell families that, I'm sorry, we don't have placement. You're gonna have to check back in. Space is an issue.
Cost savings to the system of having somebody housed versus unhoused. Unhoused is $50,000 to $60,000 per year. To house somebody is probably 20% of that number, and it results in an outcome that nobody would argue with.
They're people, and their pathway to housing also involves them believing that they're worth it, and us as a community having faith that they're just like us. Just like we deserve it, they deserve it.
Somebody from LA Family Housing came out to the park, and I said, you got it, you got it, you got it, you got it, it's yours. And I went, oh my God. Got my key and cried.
I have my own place. I'm able to have my own measure of dignity and pride.
Like even just have like your own bed and like your own room and like to have a door to shut. It's like everything else that I went through like on the street and all that worrying and all that panic, it can just stay in the past.
We very much need the collaboration of our partners in Sacramento to attack those key drivers of homelessness: rising rents, uncontrolled evictions, and shortage of affordable housing.
Because if we don't support the construction of new housing and definitely new permanent supportive housing, new shelter facilities, we are going to be with this problem for the foreseeable future.
We as a community, we all need to do this. It's the only way it's gonna happen. How do we envision permanent supportive housing or affordable housing or the services? And saying, I'm okay with this in my community. Everyone just needs to sit up and say yes.
Mental illness and justice system involvement pose their own unique challenges and have prompted some bold new approaches. Let's take a look.
You don't know what's going to happen out here in these streets. You know, it's survival out here.
I was originally from Texas. My goal was to hopefully go to school, but I got robbed in LA and I ended up on the street. I didn't have the money or the friends out here really to help me out with that problem.
I used to get bullied a lot, and you know, I really wanted to fit in. And that was the beginning of me drinking and then using. I eventually got diagnosed with mental health disorder, bipolar.
I'm suffering through abuse and don't even know what abuse is. I never knew what abuse was. You know, when a person says, hey, you need to go through a mental health, I knew then I had issues, big time.
I've been diagnosed with major depressive disorder, insomnia, and an anxiety disorder.
Being homeless and having a mental health situation, it's like you're locked in a box.
Being that way and being in that sort of quiet desperation of, you know, I need this medication, I do need help, and it being so hard to convey that to people.
Unfortunately, here in Los Angeles County, there's an estimated 47,000 people who are living on the streets. When a police officer encounters, let's say, someone who is disturbing the peace, who has a mental illness, if they take them to jail, they can book them in 30 minutes and be on their way.
It's a harsh thing to say, but jail has almost been like a second home.
What typically happens with a person coming out of jail, then about 11 o'clock at night or 12 o'clock at night, they walk out of the jail. If you've been to the LA County Jail on Beauchesne Street, the only thing close by is Skid Row.
Getting released and not having an opportunity to participate in treatment, and the cycle kept continuing.
This vicious cycle of a revolving door in and out of our institutions.
There are a lot of people that we believe shouldn't be in jail.
You see guys who really belong there, and then you see guys who, kind of like in my situation, stuck.
It's unfair, it's unethical. There has to be a better approach.
They have this new program called the Odr Program. And I says, what is that? And it says, we think that if you had your own place, you won't be out doing crime. It says, have you ever had your own place? I says, no, never.
It's surreal, you know, it's like, okay, I'll believe it when I see it, but it's real.
There is a need for the continuum of services, where a person who lives upstairs can come downstairs and receive mental health services.
They get a caseworker that stays with them for life. I know no other program like that.
Therapy is about second chances, right? And a lot of our guys are seeking that second chance.
I've been able to experience and to grow and to get my life back. I mean, it's unprecedented.
I don't think we ever really understood just how many people inside the jail were eligible. Our study looked at the entire mental health population in the jail, which was over 5,000 people. Over half of them would potentially have successful cases.
That's important because really what the community wants, they want safety.
From a public safety perspective, it's actually safer to have them housed. And emergency room visits are very expensive. Jail stays are very expensive. Associated court costs, policing costs, arrest costs, we could go on and on. But if you just house somebody and you provide them with medication, it's actually affordable.
That's rewarding. It's fulfilling. Why wouldn't we all want that? This is an innovative and intelligent approach, and it's working. So far, we've safely diverted almost 2,000 people through the Office of Diversion and Reentry, and this is spreading around the country.
These needs are in Chicago, they're in New York, they're in Miami, they're all over.
I think it should be important for all of us to want everyone in society, to the degree that they're capable of living a life with dignity and purpose.
It's really about righting some wrongs in the criminal justice system that have been going on for far too long.
Well, I remember I almost laughed. When I got offered the program, I was like, is this for real? You're gonna get me a housing and medical and all that? And they're like, yeah, and you can get started all over again. It was jaw-dropping.
I says, don't play with me. When I get in trouble, I go to prison. They schedule me for release. And they picked me up. I still didn't believe it. I says, they're not gonna release me, you know. And they came and they said, Baker, for release. And excuse me for a minute. It was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Homelessness doesn't just affect people, it also affects their animal companions. Here's how an innovative program is keeping pets safe while their humans find housing.
My name is Yvette Garcia, and I have 3 dogs, Dora, Monroe, and Gordo. They're my life, them and my son. They protect me. I went through domestic violence and Gordo protected me. My ex-boyfriend hit me and I had to move out. I had to stay at my brother and sister-in-law. The only thing, I couldn't take my dogs. So I was roaming around all over the place trying to find a place to keep them.
We recognize at the Department of Animal Care and Control that people who are experiencing homelessness are also pet owners. We were seeing people who were losing their housing, were maybe living in their cars, and they were bringing their pets to us to give them up because affordable, pet-friendly housing is extremely limited, and we knew we had to do something.
So I was driving by and I saw the Animal Care Center. He says, we have this program. We're gonna give them a home for now until you find your own home.
For people experiencing homelessness, we provide temporary care and sheltering for their pets. They're fed, they're bathed, they're exercised. If they have any minor medical problems, we'll address those.
My dogs were in the Animal Care Center for 2 months. They neutered them, they spayed them, and they did all the shots. They gave me that comfort that they were gonna take care of them while I was trying to look for a place.
When people are experiencing homelessness, we want to do whatever we can to make it easier for them to transition to housing. And pets are a large component of that. This program is part of Los Angeles County's larger initiative to combat and end homelessness.
I'm in a new place and I'm happy because I have my dogs with me. I don't know how to repay everything they did for me. It was so amazing. I am so grateful because they're my life.
An unprecedented mobilization to combat and prevent homelessness has led to a major expansion of outreach workers out on the street. Meet one of them, a physician's assistant who is bringing healing to the homeless while protecting the health of the public at large.
Carrie Kowalski, I'm a physician assistant. I've been doing street medicine for 7 years. I'm gonna get your temperature. Ok, pues habla con Rose el jueves de la medicina, okay? Street medicine, means that we literally bring medicine to people in the streets. So I carry a backpack with me that's full of diagnostic equipment and medications. So I'm able to do a full physical assessment in the field and diagnose and treat. And often we have the medicines we need to treat the common things that we see on a daily basis. What we see with people who have become chronically homeless, it takes a lot of effort from a lot of different professionals in multiple different fields to get that person back on their feet. Our team is a multidisciplinary team, so we have peers, case managers, substance use counselors, mental health professionals, and then myself doing medical care. Short-term goals for our clients are always to bring immediate care to them, so immediate medical care, immediate mental health services, immediate substance services. Long-term goals are housing, because it's really difficult to be healthy when you're outside. There's a lot of trauma that goes on outside, and so the housing is critical. When we give preventive services, when we give vaccinations, and we screen for problems before they become catastrophic, it improves the quality of life for our whole country. There's so many people living out there on the streets, and when we go to them and talk with them, we're able to see that they're just real people. They have real problems. We're able to talk to them and interface with them and treat them like human beings, and they really appreciate that.
Finally, never underestimate the power of music to bring people together and the power of help and human connection to change lives.
Homelessness is not easy. Only the strong survive. I experienced it for 13 years off and on. I worked for Lockheed Aircraft in Burbank. We all got laid off, like 22,000 people. My girlfriend that I was with at the time, she died. I went in the depression state, man. It was crazy. I lost my apartment, I lost everything. It's gone.
When I first met Calvert on the corner of 11th and Blaine, I was struck by his politeness and his calm demeanor. And I just, I knew I wanted to get him off the streets.
Sean is an amazing guy. He helped me to get placed in a temporary housing, and he took me anywhere I needed to go.
While transporting Calvert to different medical appointments, we bonded over traditional old blues music. So one morning I said, Calvert, I'm gonna get you housed. Not only am I gonna get you housed, but we're gonna actually play the blues in your new place. This particular project-based housing opportunity came into the picture, and we were able to get Calvert in here.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. I was so happy when I crossed the threshold. I was like, man, this is a big step. I dumped the tent in the trash can. I said, I'm not never going back to the tent no more. I'm not make sure that whatever I do, I stay in the apartment.
I'm more in love with this work every day. It just feels right to go out there and to render any help that I can.
I appreciate the county and the people's concern and links, housing, and all the other people that helped with getting me placed, and Sean, especially Sean. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man. You're a dedicated individual, man. From right there, he's from right there, right from the heart. Met a guy named Sean. Don't have to sleep with the